Climate change and the environment. Climate change a global environment problem, period moreover is truly three-dimensional environment problems. From the bottom of the deepest ocean to the edge of space and the top of the atmosphere. It is also a problem of immense time scales. Some aspect of the Earth climate system can take several hundred years to settle down once disturbed. For example, o volcano. Di ba nang how many years pa na mo buto ma-disturb balik. And also, we be worth boating at the outside that trade there is fundamental and important difference between air or water pollution and climate change as pollution problem period increased concentration of traditional air or water pollution tend to cause direct effects on living system. Asma in humans, di ba ng pollution of air makakuha na sa atong lawas, and also ng toxin in fish. Basta pollution na yung water mo na yung makakuha sa mga fish. However, increased concentration of the greenhouse gases implicated in climate change are directly harmful into living system. Also greenhouse gases maka-affect sa atong living life. Human activity is rapidly and significantly changing the nature of the earth. This is happening at the rate above and beyond any previously experienced natural variation in climate. Also kanang mga kabuhatan nato sa atong kalibutan, muna makapaspas sa atong pag-ilis atong mga environment system. Scientists are virtually certain that recent observation of climate change are attributable to increased concentration of the so-called greenhouse gases, which include CO2, methane, and nitrous oxide, together with a range of human-generated halocarbon compounds. Diba ang greenhouses kay maka-affect gayo sa atong environment. These greenhouse gases have increased progress over last 150 years at the industrial and power and industrial revolution have progressed. Diba dugay na kayo naka-affect sa atong environmental ning greenhouse gases. And also the dynamics of the earth climate system are complex and only partially understood. The most definitive scientific assessment of climate change to date is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change or IPCC in 2001. According to the IPCC, it's highly likely that the Earth's climate will continue to change rapidly and significantly over the next century, even switch unsuccessful action we're taking to drastically reduce emission from burning fossil fuels. Diba also burning fossil fuels paspas kayo naka-effect sa atong environmental world or environmental system. And also my topic is the scientific basis of the climate change. To understand climate change, we must first understand what we mean by climate. Diba? Masabtan sa atong climate, bagyo, mga kausaban sa atong kalibutan. We can begin to think more scientifically about climate change by first thinking about the more simple idea of weather. Look outside, what is the weather like this minute? Usahay mo uwan o init, di na masabtan atong climate. And now think about the climate of your country looking out the window. Does not help to describing the climate because unlike the weather, it is not possible to observe the climate directly. Instead, you are probably thinking about your own climate in terms of it being generally warm, wet, windy, dry, or sunny. Hindi na dyan masabtan ng panahon ron. Hindi na nakatunong atong panahon. But what if you were asked to describe the climate change in your region? Of the word thinking about the climate of the region still more complicated, even across relatively small regions such as the 200 kilometers or so between in the birds in Scotland and Marseille in the south of France. The climate was various, such as latitude high above sea level, stall influence, and local photography. Murag ang lugar nila kanang murag na kanang nagdagat sea level na ba. That's all. Thank you.
My name is Clyde Kenneth Adem, and I'm going to discuss about the Earth's climate system. So the Earth's climate system is driven by the energy from the sun with the average global temperature. And there is a process that entraps the heat of the sun in the atmosphere and reflect it to the Earth's surface, and that is called the greenhouse effect. And the greenhouse effect is made of greenhouse gases. Water vapor, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane, and ozone are the main greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Next is the Earth's climate system. The Earth's climate system consists of 5 components, and these are the atmosphere, the envelope of gases surrounding Earth. Next is hydrosphere, which are the oceans, seas, rivers, fresh waters, and underground water. Next is the cryosphere, which is the snow, sea ice sheets, glaciers, and permafrost. Next is the land surface, and lastly, the biosphere, which is all ecosystem and living things. Now let's go to the Earth. Is the Earth's climate changing? So to the most people, the idea of climate change can sound very new, but for the geologists, geophysicists, oceanographers, and climatologists, climate change is old news, because as for them, the Earth's climate is constantly changing, and over the last million years, the Earth's climate has undergone numerous of cycles of cooler and warmer periods. Next, there are the 2 ways of measuring the climate change. And the first way is measurement can be taken directly dedicated instruments. An example of this is the direct measurement of the surface temperature since the middle of the 19th century. Next is the precipitation and wind measurement since 1900s. Last is the subsurface ocean temperature measurement since the 1940s. These are only 3 examples of the measurement can be taken directly using dedicated instruments. Next is the measurement can be taken directly using proxies from the paleoclimatic record. An example of these are trees, corals, sediments, and ice. Lastly, human influences and climate change. Humans are responsible for a significant change in the Earth's climate. As human burns fossil fuels, petroleum, and coal, and this enhances the Earth's natural greenhouse gases, which is the cause of the Earth's big increase of greenhouse gases since the industrial period.
Predicting future climate change. Can we really do it? Behavior of the different components of climate change. Atmosphere. The thermodynamics of the planet moist atmosphere. More water vapor in the atmosphere will lead to more precipitation. Ang pasabot ani kay tungod sa kainit, mas daghan tubig mo evaporate na nakakos og severe na pag-ulan. Oceans are the largest heat sink on the planet. Tungod ani 90% na kainit gikan sa mga gas emissions. Mas daghan heat mo dong sa tubig, mas kusog mo evaporate, so mag-lead siya sa atmosphere. Land and surface. A changing climate can lead to changes in the land use and land cover, example as El Nino. Cryosphere. The cryosphere include portions of the earth where water in the solid form. More heat, mas madali nig kalanay na makakos sa uban lugar magsigig ulan tungod sa mga nalanay na ice. Biosphere. Biogenetic gases in the atmosphere play a role in the dynamics of the earth. Planetary radiation budget. And tungod sa mga gas emission gikan sa atong mga vehicles, makakosad ni problema sa biosphere. What really help us predicting future climate change? Climate model such as Atmosphere, Ocean General Circulation Models, or AOGCMS, to explore and predict how the climate will change. Researchers create computer models of the real world. These mathematical climate change models are based on the laws of physics and chemistry, which explain how water and air move, heat up and cool in the atmosphere and ocean, how pollutants reacts in the atmosphere, and how sunlight and infrared radiation interact with molecules. Models also integrate measurements of the sun's radiation and earth atmosphere, seas, ice, volcanoes, and land biosphere. Kani tanan magdepende sa mga binuhatan sa tao, magkawars sa raog pagsagdan ra sa nato. How do we climate adapt to change in greenhouse gas emission? Greenhouse gases emitted by human activities affect the climate. The report shows that emission of greenhouse gases from human activities are responsible for approximately 1.1 degrees of warming since 1850 to 1900. Based sa mga nabasa nato, kung di nato mabag-o tansa ang buhatan agtaw, labi na pagsigig emit o gas mo anam pagkataas ang warming pohon. Based sa libro, daghan daw kayo prediction ang IPCC na mahitabo, pero kani ang most likely mahitabo jud. Prediction that has 95% confidence interval based on IPCC that we need to discuss more. Rising of sea levels and temperature. Sukad 2000, gasige raw anam kataas ang sea level or kataas on sa dagat based sa ako nabasa. Itaas nig 6 to 8 inches if walay magbag-o sige ra gapon ni taas. Increase water vapor and precipitation. Pareha sa giingon nako ganiha, if magkanam-anam kaayat ang kalibutan, mas manam-anam sad sigig ulan tungod sa moisture hinungdan makakos og baha. Decrease snow cover and ice extent. Ang climate change dili ra maka apekto og tao pati na sad sa mga animals, labaw na ang mga snowbirds where nakanam-anam nagkalanay ilang lugar tungod sa kainit, mga cause sad nig uwan-uwan sa mga other side tungod sa mga lanay na ice. How certain are we about the science of climate change? More important to remember, scientists always focus on the evidence, not on opinions. So dapat dyan mag-try og research kay every scientist na dyan sila point. So dapat magpatuos ta whenever na sila i-reach out and always take actions. Impacts climate change. According to IPCC, based sa mga giingon na ako ganina, dili ra tao mismo ang mapektuhan sa climate change, kundi daghan. Example, risk to unique and threatened systems. Example, ang mga coral reefs. Risk from extreme climate events. Climate change makakos og sigig uwan na makakos og baha or pagtaob. Risk or cost associated with the distribution of impacts. Dili tanan pare-pareho maapektuhan og pareha ang uban, mas worse tungod sa ilang social status which is makakos og problema. Risk or cost associated with the size of aggregated impacts. Mas daghan kalamidad, mas daghan mga guba o mga cost o gasto. Risk from future large scale discontinuities. Risk from future largest scale discontinuities.
Risk from future large-scale discontinuities. Oh.
Risk from future large scale discontinuities. Example ani kay ang paglanay sa ice sa Arctic na di na dyan nato pwede mabalik. Total impacts of climate change. Climate change impact various sectors and the most agriculture and food production. Tungod ani sa sigulan or sobraan ra kainit na adyoy uban tanong na apektuhan mga cost og less service water resources. Tungod sa kainit mas daghan tubig mo evaporate na makakos og ubas ani makakos ng less water supplies or sa mga kurente na nagamit sa tubig. Human health based ako na hiwawan ang mga hugaw or bacteria mas mugro og init. So if masobraan ka init mas malaghan og bacteria makakos sakit sa tao. Coastal areas and infrastructure. Pagtaob or pagbagyo tungod sa climate change makakos og grabing storm surge na magagumba og mga seawall. Biodiversity and ecosystems. Climate change can alter ecosystem leading to the loss of biodiversity and changes in ecosystem service such as pollination, soil fertility, and water quality. Case study 7.3 World Extremes. The main points of the case study are all that we discussed earlier, the reason of climate change that affects and as well as the database gathered from IPCC research. But there are two questions coming from the case study. One of it is give some examples of the major benefits and costs from climate change. Here are some examples of benefits and costs of the climate change. Benefits: longer growing season and increased crop yields. Longer growing seasons and increased crop yields in the some regions. Reduce heating costs and cooler climates. Increased potential from renewable energy resources like solar and wind power. Expansion shipping routes in Arctic region due to melting sea ice. Increased tourism in some region due to milder temperature and longer growing seasons. Cost: increased frequency and severity of extreme weather events leading to property damage, loss of life, and economic disruption. Reduce agricultural productivity in the some region due to change in precipitation patterns and increased frequency of droughts, floods, and heat waves. Increase energy consumption for cooling and heat other climates. How might the UK affected by the climate change impact them to be the most likely? The UK is likely to be affected by climate change impact such as increased frequency and severity of extreme weather events, sea levels rise and storm surge, change in precipitation patterns, impact on agricultural productivity, and risk to human health. As these challenges, the UK government has implemented measures to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, resilience to climate change impact, and transition to a low-carbon economy. These measures include investing in renewable energy, promoting energy efficiency, developing adaptation plans for climate change impacts, and supporting research and development of new technologies and practices to address climate change.
Good day everyone. By the way, my name is John David Gutierrez. My topic is all about policy responses to climate change. The human enhancement of global warming leading to climate change is seen as a worldwide problem. So ang mga rason nga nagdala pagbag-o sa klima is ang pagsunog sa mga fossil fuels o pagsunog sa mga o pagputol sa mga kalasangan o sa uban pa. Next, policy responses have been led by international negotiation but have been qualified or indecisive at the national level and so far largely ineffective despite strong international agreement on the matter. So naay ways nga epektibo aron malikayan ang climate change. Ending our reliance on fossil fuels, creating energy efficiency, renewable ending, sustainable transportation, og sustainable buildings, better forestry management and sustainable agriculture, conversation-based solution and industrial solution. Ano siya? Next, the principal focus is on reducing carbon dioxide emission. So, the one thing we can do to reduce carbon dioxide emission immediately is to reduce the speed limits on roads. Reducing the speed limits on roads is pinaka-epektibo nga pamagi aron ma-reduce dayon ang carbon dioxide emission. Mas siya. Next, nuclear power is seldom acknowledged as the single most significant means of limiting the increase in greenhouse gas concentrations while enabling access to abundant electricity. So, ang nuclear power usa siya kaubos nga carbon nga source of energy nga tungod kay dili sa masakol oil o gas power plants. Asya. Ang next topic is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. As we say, UNFCCC entered into the force on March 21, 1994. Today, it has neared universal membership. The 198 countries that have ratified the convention are called parties to the convention. So, ang parties to the convention is ang usa ka estado nga mahimong usa ka partido sa Convention of Optional nga protocol pinaagi sa pagpirma o pag-aproba sa bisan unsang instrumento o pinaagi sa pag-action niini. Next topic is greenhouse gas emission trading and the Kyoto Protocol. Emission trading, also known as cap and trade. Ang cap and trade ay so ang gitawag nga cap and trade is a system of the limits aggregate emission from a group of emitters by setting a cap on maximum emission. Ano siya? Next topic is the Kyoto Protocol was an international treaty which extended the 1992 United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change that commits state parties to reduce greenhouse gas emission. Based on the scientific consensus that global warming is occurring and that human-made CO2 emission are driving it. Last topic is Clean Development Mechanism. It's a United Nations run carbon offset scheme allowing countries to fund greenhouse gas emission reducing projects in other countries and claim the same emission as part of their own efforts to meet international emission targets. Ang kanisiya ang pagpaningkamot aron makabot ang international nga mga target sa emission is usa ka dakong tabang sa atong mga palibot para malakayan ang climate change. Mao siya. Thank you.
The politics of global climate change. The international politics of climate change are like several other international economics, social, and environmental issues frequently portrayed in terms of the North versus South dimension, a egoism of developed versus developing countries. So, ang international nga politika sa pagbag-o sa klima sama sa daghan uban pang mga international nga ekonomiya, sosyal o kalikupan nga mga isyu nga kanunay gihulagway sa termino sa North versus South dimension, usa ka egoism alang sa madbatok sa uswag nga nasod. Ani nasagta sa developed countries and reducing greenhouse gas emission. The convention makes it clear that the developed countries should take the lead in reducing greenhouse gas emission, while all of them accepted the quantified emission reduction targets agree for the OECD countries in 1992 and for Kyoto in 1997, including the USA. Very few developed countries have shown any real sign of reducing their greenhouse gas emission line with their Kyoto promises. So, mga naugmad nga mga nasod og gipa minus ang mga pagbuga sa greenhouse gas, giklaro sa konbensyon nga ang mga naugmad nga mga nasod kinahanglan maguna sa pagkunhod sa mga pagbuga sa greenhouse gas samtang silang tanan midawat sa quantified emission reduction targets nga gikasabutan para sa OECD nga mga nasod niadtong 1992 ug para sa Kyoto niadtong 1997 lakip na usa USA. Gamay ra kaayong mga nasod ang nagpakita bisan unsang mga tinuod nga mga timailhan sa pagkunhod sa ilang greenhouse gas emission subay sa ilang mga saad sa Kyoto.
I'm going to discuss about the Integrated Assessment Modeling, or IAM. So first and foremost, what is IAM? IAM is a tool for conducting an integrated assessment. It is an interdisciplinary research platform which constitutes consistent scientific framework. So different disciplines are integrated in this. So for example, economics, a model of the energy system, the agricultural system, the land use system, and so on. And by putting them together and understanding how they interact, we can determine how decisions in a certain part of the society affect the other parts that are also important to us. Next is who builds the IAMs. IAMs have been constructed by researchers at universities, government agencies, and research institutions. So kaning work is ginasuportahan by grants from government agencies and private foundations because useful as it's here. Next, why do we use IAMs? It is very often to assess and understand the implications of policy decisions. IAMs are used to answer what-if questions about the relationships between society and the natural world, including its changing climate. So, IAM now is used to answer what-if questions. Like for example, what if we want to limit the warming in 2 degrees? Or what if we don't act in the next 20 years? And so on. IAMs also involves the use of sub-models to undertake 4 types of analysis. First, different scenarios about possible future emission profiles of developed and developing countries must be generated. Second, models of the interaction between the atmosphere, land surface, ocean, and carbon cycle. These are needed to translate the various emission scenarios into various scenarios of concentrations in atmospheric greenhouse gas emissions. Third, various scenarios of greenhouse gas concentrations must be translated into projections for global mean temperature, changes and associated impacts on climate variables like sea level rise, precipitation, cloudiness, and etc. Fourth, the social and economic impacts of such changes in climate variables must be assessed. So kinahanglan jud may bawan or mabantayan ang kausaban sa atong climate for us to be aware and to know what should we do during and after any circumstances.